And good evening, everyone. Welcome live to Sebring International Raceway for the Blondie's MX-5 World Tour. These drivers have 3 rounds left to go, and this is one of the longer races the series has. 2 longer races. This one is one of those here today. And we're also under the lights, which makes things even more interesting. Will Vincent in the GlacierTV booth once again, alongside Ricky Anatalo. And Ricky, hello.
Hey, Will.
And this Sebring track is very tough, it's very difficult. You make it dark, and these drivers have to know every inch of the racetrack before they get into this race, and things are going to be difficult here today.
Yeah, so it seems, but Sebring is a good track, has a long straight, so hopefully we'll see some great action here today.
And don't forget, you can keep in contact with us on Twitter or Raceline. Use the hashtag #IRGlacier. We've got ourselves about 5 minutes left of qualifying. The current top 5 in qualifying are Yanis with a time of 2 minutes. Just as I say that, actually, Jan Coomans going 2 seconds a lap faster. So Jan Coomans now the provisional pole sitter with a time of 2 minutes 28 seconds .995. And then Yanis in the second spot, Gilhemi Rato in third. Andruskis Turskis in the 4th position, Benjamin Lanute in 5th, Giuseppe Aero in 6th, Stefan Moria in the 7th position, Eric Garcia in 8th, Milheim Mason in 9th, and Andre Hagen running out your top 10. And just as I say that, it's all changing once again with Tom Rafferty moving himself up now into the 6th position in qualifying. But out front, however, Ricky, it's Coomans once again absolutely dominating qualifying.
Yeah, we've seen Jan Coomans, he's always been fast, especially in the MX-5, so we'll see how in the race will he be able to pull away, or will Jere Janis be able to do something about it.
And this track as well, you know, it's got some very different sweeping sectors to it. We'll take you through a lap. In fact, we'll have a look at Tom Rafferty. He's currently working his way down towards the hairpin. This is turn number 7 on the racetrack. Slowest corner on the racetrack is that hairpin. You've got to get yourself a nice line into it. You'll see them braking at about the 350 meter mark, trying to get it all the way down to about 45 miles an hour on the apex. Don't want to ride as you go on the exit, and this is where the dark track really does take its toll at that corner. Then you're flicking it to the right hand side. You cannot see anything if there's a car ahead of you. You can just see the literal airport lights ahead of you as you work your way now down into this very fast right-hander. You take it a lot faster than you expect to, and you jump out of the apex of that. You flick the car to the left-hand side once again. One of the fastest sections of the racetrack now, flicking it to the left, and you almost straight line this next corner as you come down. And Tom Rafferty looking strong at the moment, but he's got the lap traffic ahead of him, which in some ways might be helping him out a little bit, and that is Esteban Balao in the 22 machine. Balao currently set in the in fact, Esteban Balao hasn't set a qualifying time at all at the moment, and he's only got himself a couple of minutes left to go to try and do that. All of his time so far, he hasn't been able to do a proper lap time, going off track at some point in each of his laps. He's now working his way into the final corner now, that right-hand flick, and he'll work his way down the back straightaway. Just one more corner left to go for Esteban Balao. And Ricky, we're talking about, you know, how difficult this track is to see. These drivers literally have the smallest field of vision ahead of them when on the racetrack.
Yeah, the track seems very dark, so it provides another challenge for the drivers. Spotting the apexes and braking points will be a bit more difficult than usual, so we'll see how the drivers cope with that throughout the race, if that'll affect them in any way.
And it's Balao coming out the final corner on the man straight away now. Let's see what time he does. He comes past the stripe, and it's a 2 minute 36.511. Not necessarily the time he was looking for. He is a full 8 seconds behind Jan Coomans out front. And this field really is a little bit more spread out than we used to before. We've got Jan Coomans a full 1.3 seconds ahead of Yanis in the 2nd position. The gap between Yanis and Gilhemi Rato currently 3 tenths of a second in this qualifying second session, and then it's a 10th of a second back to Turskis. Turskis and Lanute also separated by less than a 10th of a second on the racetrack. But as soon as you get behind Milheim Mason in 6th position, this field's starting to spread out a lot more. And this midfield at the moment, Ricky, they looking as though they're kind of separated quite a lot, about 4 or 5 tenths of a second separating these drivers.
Yeah, it's a very long track, so about almost 6 kilometers. So and lots of turns, 17 turns. So there's a lot of corners to make up time or lose time. So that's why the field is quite spread out. But in the race, there's a long straight, so it shouldn't be too hard to keep up with the car in front due to the draft. So we'll see how the differences are shown in the race.
And the checkered flag is out. These drivers got themselves one more qualifying lap. Whatever lap they're on, this is going to be their final lap. As you see there, the top 20 drivers in point on your screen momentarily. We'll run through that a little bit more throughout this race. And this one, Bala, just having a look, see whether he can improve his time. He is on the racetrack. He's also got Tom Rafferty ahead of him. He's trying to improve on his 7th place finish. Mihai Mason is on the racetrack, working his way into the penultimate corner. Down the back straightaway once again. Benjamin Lanute coming out of the final corner. And we'll see how he does as he comes past the stripe. Currently sat in the 5th position. And he is going to try and improve his time. It was a 2 minute 32. And this time he does... in fact, he goes about a second slower than he's been previously in this session. So, having a look, most of these drivers now are on their final lap, as we say. We're going to go to the grid in about 2 minutes' time. And we're just going to quickly take a moment to have a look at Thomas Halunen in the 23 car. He's just passed Steve Brockman on the racetrack. That might hurt his qualifying time a little bit. But Halunen currently sat in the 14th position, trying to gain up some ground. He's got less than a tenth of a second gap to Mikael Gustafsson ahead of him, currently running in the 13th position. And Halunen, he's got himself about half of this lap left to go. And he's not doing a bad time so far. And we'll see how he carries on for the rest of this lap. Checking in also on a couple of these other drivers. It is Jan Coomans, who's got now pole position pretty much sewn up. Guilherme Rato, he tried to improve his time. In fact, he sets his fastest time of the session, a 2 minute 30.151. It's closing the gap there to Jan Coomans, but still, it is 1.2 second the gap between these two drivers on the racetrack. And Coomans pretty much now guaranteed pole position for this, the Blondie's MX5 World Tour event from Sebring International Raceway. Just waiting for the final drivers to come through, then we'll run through your top 20 drivers for this race. And in the meantime, we're just going to have a look at the last drivers as they come past the start-finish line here. Mikael Gustafsson working his way down the back straightaway. He's got himself one more corner left to go. We'll check an eye on him as he goes into this, the final corner of the racetrack. So, most of the drivers now have come past the start-finish line. We have got ourselves just a couple of seconds before we are going to the grid here. Gustafsson does not improve his lap time. So, to run through them, your top 20 drivers for this, the Blondie's MX5 World Tour from Sebring International Raceway. It is Jan Coomans. They'll be leading the way on the inside of row number 1. Guilherme Rato alongside him in the first row. Yeah, Yanis and Turskis in row number 2. Benjamin Lanute and Mihai Mason in the 3rd row. Tom Rafferty and Giuseppe Aero in row 4. Stefan Moria and Eric Garcia in row 5. Thomas Halunen and Andre Hegem in row 6. Chuck Johnson and Mikael Gustafsson in row 7. Peter Yerkser and Joshua Gaiman in the 8th row. David Schaefer, Isman Bala in row 9. Claudia Klimmer and Steve Brockman, the 10th and final row. And Ricky, final thoughts before we go green?
Sorry, what was that?
Said final thoughts before we go green.
I have to disable the driver's chat. That's.
Said final thoughts before we go green. Final time. We can do this.
Now I'm just confused.
Okay, we'll ignore Ricky for the next couple of seconds. We're going to go green for 27 laps around this racetrack here today. And as I say, it's Coomans out front. We're just waiting. We've got about 30 seconds before those lights go green. And as I say, Coomans out front once again. We've also got to let you drivers, you people watching know that Coomans has going to have himself a stop-and-go penalty on lap number 1. We talked about at Silverstone how he had a big race once again with some incidents, so he's going to have to make that stop-and-go penalty at the conclusion of lap number 1. Rato will line up in the second position. He will probably then take hold of first spot if it all goes well for him. We're going to go green racing in less than 20 seconds time here for 27 laps. Yeah, Yanis in third, and Turskis in the fourth position. We are now waiting for those lights to go red and then go green here at Sebring. And now lights go green. We're racing. Coomans gets himself a good start, and Rato getting himself a good start as well as they're sweeping it down into turn number 1. Rato looking as though he's going to try and make a move down the inside. He's not quite going to be close enough if Coomans makes his line stick. In fact, you see Coomans there does dance off into the sunset for the time being, ahead of, behind them, sorry, Turskis, looking as though he is staying in that fourth position, but they're going to be too wide as they come down into turn 2, and Rato really looking strong early on. Back through the field, we've got ourselves some 2-3 wide racing at points. Andre Hegem trying to look down to the inside, he goes there, and they touch, and Aero there is going to be punted offline there, and as that happened, Andre Hegem just finding a way past. It looks like all of these drivers have been able to get through okay for the most part. I see Bill Zan a little bit slow off the pace, but I think he is okay on the racetrack. Jan Coomans is out front, and he's got himself a 2 times of a second gap over Rato, so working themselves down to the hairpin for the first time. And also Turskis having to defend heavily from Benjamin Lanute as they come out of the hairpin. And we've got a crash by the look of it at the hairpin. I can see Stefan Moriat is going on the runoff area, and that was down into the hairpin. Moriat out braking and just slamming into the side there of Thomas Halunen in the 23 car. Halunen's car all bent out, and he is out of the race. So it is Jan Koeman is currently leading away, but as I said, he is going to have to make a stop-go penalty at the conclusion of this lap. And it's looking as though Coomans is going to have a fast car, but he's got to work that car in traffic. However, this is a longer race than we're used to seeing, and perhaps Coomans might be able to make his way a little bit further up the field than we've seen him previously once he's gotten stuck in that lap traffic. Having a look at Rato in that second position. He is right behind him, however. So Rato having a good first lap, and we're going to go on board of Rato as they come onto the back straight for the first time. Once they come out the final corner, you will see Jan Koomans peeling himself down to the inside to make that stop and go penalty. And you see lap number 1 in the books. Rato taking away that race leader, Jan Koomans, bringing that car down into pit road for that penalty. And it's looking as though that out front, Rato is really fast. He's got a 1.4 second gap over Yanis in that second position. Turskis in third, Lanute in 4. Rafty is going to take away that 5th position. They're working it down. These drivers too wide. You see there, Joshua Gaiman and Mikael Gustafsson, they're battling for 10th position on the racetrack, and it looks as though that Gustafsson just about able to hold down their gamers on the outside line. However, Gustafsson was not letting him have any of it as they're working away on lap number 2 of 27. And Ruku, it's been a good start by these drivers, and what you need to do at this track is just get yourself a good, clean first couple of laps.
Yeah, this track is long, so you have to just get the opening laps right and get into start concentrating and get in the zone, and just make sure you hit your marks lap after lap, because it's going to be a very long race ahead of them, so consistency is key here.
And we do have a crash on the racetrack. We'll try and get word on who that is in just 1 second's time. However, it is still Gaiman trying to work on Mikael Gustafsson in that battle for what is now 9th position. I'm having a look to try and see who that driver was. We'll get a confirmation from race control. And Giuseppe Eros is down on pit road. So perhaps he's one of those drivers who was involved in an incident. Having a look at the 46 car, see if anything happened to him on the first lap. And that car was looking very slow. And there was a big crash actually in the back straightaway as well by the look of it. I just saw a lot of lights pointing in the wrong direction, but Aero has brought that car down onto pit road, and he is suffering here early on in this race. checking in on your race leader, Henry Rato. He's got himself a 1.4 second gap over, Yanis. But sorry, Mikael Gustafsson off the track there as they came onto the back straight away. By the look of it, and Mikael Gustafsson just dropped the car there, and the car spinning out on him. He couldn't see where the edge of the track was, and that 99 Sim 5 car is going to lose himself a ton of positions there. And Gustafsson is back now onto the racetrack, but he's going to drop back a ton of positions, and he is now behind Adela Pinto, who is in the 16th position, and that means that he is all the way down now into the 16th spot. And really, I have to say that was a bad mistake there for Gustafsson. He just lost the car in about turn number 11, couldn't find a way of keeping it pointing in the right direction, and he's now lost himself a ton of time and also a little bit of pride for the time being. Very quickly, we're going to bring in Yoni Backman into this, but it was a good start from Guilherme Rato, and he was able to keep right behind Jan Coomans. Now he's in charge of this lead. It's looking as though that, yeah, Yanis has been able to close that gap a little bit.
Yeah, he has, but we have to remember that this track has 3 very, very long straightaways, especially for these cars with low power and lots of draft. It probably has the best drafting effect of all the road cars on the service, and Jere is below 1 second behind Guillermo Rato, so Rato does not have draft from anyone. Jere has good draft from Guillermo on every straightaway, so he should be able to close easily over 1/10 of a second per straight. So that could explain the 0.6 of a second he gained that last lap around. So it's very easy to follow someone behind around here, but once you go past, you're the sitting duck after that.
And having a look at Guilherme Rato, that gap is about 9 seconds, sorry, 9/10 of a second on the racetrack. They're currently working on lap number 3 of 27 here at Sebring International Raceway. Through the field as well, we've got ourselves a little bit of interesting battles going on. I have to say, having a look at the 22 car of Istvan Balau, he started this race down in the 18th position, currently working in the 9th spot, right behind Joshua Gaiman. So in fact, he's dropped back now to 10th position. But Balau, a great start from him in that 22 car.
Yeah, well, what happened to Tom Rathi? He was P5 just a short while ago. Now he's taking a tow and taking a lot of repairs. That's over a minute pit stop.
Yeah, and we'll have a look back at that. This is Tom Rathi in the 41 machine, trying to get confirmation of what happened to him. And it was looking as though that car just lost itself somewhere on the racetrack, but he was on the front straightaway, that car which is pointing in the wrong direction, and I've got a feeling he hit the inside pit wall at some point when he wasn't even paying attention. Indeed, he just did that, wasn't paying attention while going the straight line, just clipped that pit wall, and that's just a crazy crash. And Rafji there just ruining his race without even realizing it.
Yeah, it's very easy to do when you have a nighttime layout. You have to remember that even though you have the shiny bits around the racetrack to give extra glow to mark the sides of the track, the apexes do not have those. So as you go close to the curves, you really have to know the track. You really have to be comfortable and familiar with the racetrack, because if you sorry, if you're uncomfortable, you can get what just happened to Michael Gustafsson in the T12 a few laps ago. He just went there slightly too aggressively, snatched over the curb and sent the car sideways.
Istvan Balau almost losing the car onto the front straightaway in the 22 car. He is pointing still in the right direction, but losing himself more positions on the racetrack, and having to check in on Jan Coomans as well. He's trying to look down to the inside of, I believe this is the 54 car of Peter Yerkser as they're coming down into turn number 2 now. As Coomans going to have a look down to the inside. He's going to think about it. They're going to be too wide. You see just how much of the curve there that Coomans is trying to use. We know how aggressive Coomans can be. He completes the pass and moves himself now up into the 9th position. And Coomans really is charging here in the early stages of this race after being forced to make that lap 1 stop-and-go penalty.
Yeah, looking at his lap time, he just did 2 minute 29.5, which is very fast compared to the leader, who just did 2 minutes 31.1. So he caught 1.5 seconds in that lap alone, and he had to make some overtaking maneuvers, I assume. So Coomans charging really fast.
Yeah, and that 55 car is 23 seconds behind the race lead because of that penalty that he had to take at the conclusion of lap number 1. We've seen how good Coomans can be in clean air, but he had a little bit of difficulties also last week, only working through traffic at Silverstone, and he's going to have to be bearing that one in mind.
Oh, we got a P5 battle going on. Mihai Misiza in P5 heavily went over the curb in T12, inside curb this time around, not the outside like Michael Gustafsson did. And now giving a good chance for Eric Garcia to try to catch him, but someone it seems that Eric Garcia was slightly worried about getting a run on that over that kink, and it gave Chuck Johnson behind Eric Garcia there a run. So this is a good three-way train caused by that slight turn 12 curb there.
And Garcia's very close to the working way down the back straightaway once again. And Mason is looking as though he's got that car under control for the time being. But of course, they've got that big braking zone into the final corner coming up. Garcia isn't looking as though he can close too much. He's down to about 2 car lengths there. He's going to have to make such a huge move into the final corner. He thinks better of it. But at the same time, then Mason going a little bit wide. And this is going to close Garcia up once again. Now he's going to have the right line as they come onto the front straightaway. If Garcia can put the power down, he can't. He would have been able to go side by side with Mason. However, he thought about it, and Garcia just lost it in his own corner there, as Mason did exactly the same thing, and Garcia stays down in the 6th position for the time being. However, whilst this is going on, you'll see that Jan Coomans is closing that gap to these drivers. Coomans actually had a very slow lap there, 2 minutes 32 last lap. Of course, he did have to work in his way around some lap traffic. He's 25 seconds behind the race leader. He has, however, guys, got himself a full 7 seconds gap to his next rival. That would be Chuck Johnson. So Coomans can do what he can do best and just tear some completely fast lap times.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch how fast lap times he's gonna post now that he has no one in front of him to slow him down. But just a 25 seconds gap to the leader, so it's only almost a second per lap needed just to catch the leader. So I think it is possible for Coomans to be contending for the win here today.
And we really going to have to keep an eye out on Jan Koeman's lap times. He's working his way on sector 2 at the moment. And one of the things that you have to bear in mind as well, just how dark this track is. If you've got no one within 2 seconds of you, you are literally driving with a field of view. You will go on board with Coomans to see just how bad it is, but he really can only see about 50 metres into the distance. There's sections of the racetrack which is a little bit better lit as the one he's on now, but for the most part, he can only really see, what, 50, 60 metres further ahead of him, so if something happens, he's going to have to react really quickly.
Yeah, this is pretty frightening stuff, especially like, this guy, now there's only a single class, so all the cars are pretty much similar. I remember racing this track in a night layout with Corvette, Ford GT, HPD combination, and being inside a Ford GT in here is pretty scary, because if you get like a dust cloud in front of you, that can mean basically that somebody just clipped the outside of the curb just slightly, or there can be 2 cars sideways, and there's no way to tell the difference until you are like in the braking distance apart from that dust cloud. And also the behind it, once you see once you see the cars behind you approaching, first you see in the mirrors, you only see like a small bright dot, but all of a sudden that dot, it gets a tad bigger, and all of a sudden the car is right next to you. So it's very, very dark in there, especially in the zones where you don't have any lighting.
And Mihai Mason there getting himself a slowdown penalty that drops him down 2 positions from 5th all the way down into the 7th position, and also only about a second behind Jan Koomans. And I have to say, Mason's car handling pretty badly at the moment. Koomans is just behind him on the racetrack. I say that gap is less than a second as they're working their way down into turn number 2 once again. I saw a car actually coming down into pit road there. I'll try and get confirmation of who that is. It is, I can only say, it is a green car for the time being. But
looks like it's Van Ballo.
Yeah, so Ballo is down on pit road. So he had a good start to this race, but it's kind of all wait for him.
Coomans goes very sideways out of turn 4. How did he keep his car going?
Wow.
That's unbelievable save.
And we've seen a number of drivers being able to save their car from literally nothing. Coomans just got himself onto that dirt, and this is one of the things that, if you run a little bit wide, you don't know how wide you're running. Are you still on the curb? Are you on the gravel? Coomans does keep it together, however, but he's lost himself about a second now to Mihai Mason in that battle for the 7th position. And Coomans could we say that he's cracking a little bit under the pressure once again here? Or perhaps just driving that car a bit too hard?
Looks,
hard to say.
Yeah, it looks like he's trying to push a bit too hard there, going a bit wide on the exits. But now he's got Chuck Johnson in front of him, so this is going to be interesting. He's looking towards the inside, but of course he's going to be on the outside coming into turn 13, which is a very tight corner. We'll see how that goes. It looks like Chuck Johnson just checked up and gave the position away. Yep.
Too wide through turn 11. Does it ring a bell, Riku?
Yeah, it hasn't been the best of places to go too wide, I'll say that much.
For those of you who are wondering what we're talking about, have a look at the replay of the second heat of the Proto Ice $1,000 Cup from here at Sebring International. Just have a look at Riku Alatalo's car. We'll let you do the rest. But Jan Coomans now up into the 7th position. Chuck Johnson's lost himself 3 positions in the space of 1 lap. These drivers currently working on lap number 6. In fact, Rato now working on lap number 7 of 27 here. And for Rato, he's got himself now a 4-second gap over Yanis. So Yanis was able to close a little bit whilst on the draft. Once Rato was able to pull away from the draft, he's been able to get out a huge gap. And it's in fact now up to 5.4 seconds on the racetrack. Jan Coomans is closing a little bit on that. However, Coomans, as he does his next lap, we'll see how he is as he comes past the line. He did a 2 minute 33.207. Of course, he had the issue that last lap with trying to, spin the car around. But the gap is 26 seconds on the racetrack. Rato's fastest lap will be nice. Rato's last lap, a 2 minute 30.018. That's faster than his qualifying time.
Yeah, it looks like Rato suddenly found a lot of pace. He is only half a second behind Coomans in terms of fastest lap. So suddenly the tables have turned around. It looks like Coomans is going to have a very hard time catching Rato if he can keep the pace up.
That's different. Interesting issue with the Sebring, especially in the night trim, that I've had the personal troubles around this racetrack to try to find us. By the way, you can see Jan Coomans is going for P6 there, and most likely is going to get it. Indeed, he is. I've had personal difficulties in here trying to nail a good qualifying lap because for some reason the smoother you go, the faster you go. But it's easier said than done when you're in the qualifying. So it's like personally, it's not a surprise for me that Guillermo Rato is able to nail faster lap times today. He in clean air in race trim that he does in qualifying. And we have to take into consideration that this is a fixed series, so these guys are all running the same setups, same amount of fuel, and they start the qualifying with the full fuel.
Indeed, yeah, but still a good lap for Rato, and I think, now he's on lap number 7, he's kind of calmed down a little bit, got that car how he wants it to be. He can manage the gap to Yanis in the 2nd position. Not taking anything away from Yanis, he's got himself a 3-second gap over Turskis, who currently running in the 3rd position, and the gap between Turskis and Lanute is already 6 seconds on the racetrack. A further 9 seconds back to Eric Garcia in 5th. We're looking at Mihai Mason and Jan Coomans at the moment, and Coomans of course taken away at 6th position, and I have to say Eric Garcia a little bit sluggish on this lap, and he's allowing Coomans to catch him up quite radically. Coomans gets a good run out the final corner. He could try and make a move down into turn number 2, if not probably down into the hairpin, would be more realistic. They're working away down the back straightaway once again. You see they'll break at about the 300-meter sign, and they really do need to use those cones here at this track though, because you've got nothing else really as reference, particularly when there's not light, the flood-lit sections of this racetrack as the start-finish line, probably one of the best lit sections of the racetrack for obvious reasons. But Coomans has closed that gap now between himself and Garcia to less than 7/10 of a second on the racetrack, but still a little bit further back from Guillermo Rato. And then at the start of the lap, Rato's last lap time was a 2 minute 30.342. Coomans, however, a little bit faster. He's now making the pass now on Eric Garcia. And once again, Garcia just putting aside and letting him past.
Yeah, well,
Easy work.
Probably looking from previous races, they can see that Coomans is just outpacing them so significantly. So there's really he's gonna get past in one way or another. So there's really no point wasting time trying to fight against Jan. Yeah,
indeed. But the thing is, we saw when Jan got actually had to make passes at Silverstone, he actually made his life very difficult. Looking at that battle for P9 on the TV.
Yeah, I did, and Jan Coomans, when he was put against the wall, he did a huge amount of rookie-ish mistakes in Silverstone, and I'm not. I doubt that he's gonna repeat those in here because we're only on lap 8 of 27, long race.
Oh,
compared
sorry,
to the rest of it. 3 wide going into here. This is crazy stuff.
Yeah, someone get Ricky.
Yeah, if they go to turn 11 like this, I'm gonna call Rico. Sorry, he's already here.
And it's Andre Egame on the left-hand side. You got Chuck Johnson ahead of these guys, but Joshua Gaiman trying to look down to the inside now, as indeed they're coming into turn number 11. Gaiman just falls behind for the time being, and Hegame getting the position there on Gaiman, and also Stefan Morial losing a couple of positions. He's trying to make the way back as they come now down into 13, but this is the thing at this track, you can run too wide here, but this track is also very narrow, so when you do try and put 3 race cars on the same piece of track, you've not really got much room for these cars to go and make, you know, any small form of mistakes at all.
Yeah, and someone to call... go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, it's a kind of a two-sided coin here because, yeah, you have narrow track, you don't have lots of places to go, but at the same time you're dealing with the narrowest cars or thinnest cars of the whole service outside of the skip barber. So these cars, if you're going to put 3 wide in one of the tracks, then these cars will be the perfect choice. As Stefano Morian is looking for P10 in back straightaway. Yeah,
he's going to complete that pass.
I was about to say this 3 laps ago. Now watch as they are approaching the last corner here. They are like, this is the weirdest corner in all of the service because there's really not a wrong line you can go through here because you see one car in the inside, he has to brake harder. One car on the outside, he doesn't brake that hard, and he's able to carry much more speed out the corner. But the net total is pretty much identical. So it's more of a personal preference of what drivers prefer to take the line of what the drivers prefer to take through that corner. But there's like 10 different equally fast lines through there.
There are wrong lines to take, just ask me, I've taken many of them at this racetrack, but Moria trying to make the pass out on Gaiman. He had the line on the back straight away, however Gaiman was faster in the final corner, able to keep that 10th position on the racetrack. Moria settling back into the 11th position for the time being, and of course we've got Andre Hegheim just about half a second ahead of them on the racetrack, still working away down to the hairpin once again. Checking in on Mayhem Mason and Eric Garcia, they are battling for 6th and 7th positions on the racetrack, and of course Mason had that slowdown penalty, now trying to work his way back up the field once again and putting a bit of pressure on Eric Garcia in that 89 car. They're working their way down into Alatali's favourite corner on the racetrack once again, turn number 11. But Mason, he made a bit of a rookie mistake there because, you know, you can't go to cutting those curbs too much at the S's because otherwise you will have to lose a lot of time, as Garcia had 2 wheels off the car there. It was in the air for about 5 seconds. That allows Mason to just breeze past him, and Garcia there falling back into the 7th position.
Yeah, the curbs in the turn 15 are very... I'm sorry, turn 13. In fact, they are very raised and can, in cars like these, can make a car do a 2 wheels off the ground. So
did Mihai get another slowdown? He went past, but then he had to let him by again.
I think
he
just
slowed down at the back straightaway. But where on earth did he get the slowdown?
Let's have a look back, and I'm gonna have a look, and it must have been at the chicane at some point, but he was not that wide in the first part of the chicane, running nicely into the second part, and then he just clipped the cone on the exit there of the second part. Perhaps that's what it was. But Mason running these curbs very high, but with Garcia as well, he literally launched the right-hand side of that car into the air. One of the things about Sebring people don't realise is just how high these curbs are. As Eric Garcia is now trying to close down Kevin Lundberg and Bill Zan to put them 1 lap down on the racetrack. But Garcia, very lucky there, because once you get, you know, wheels off the track, you're kind of running a passenger, as Garcia, in fact, they're getting passed by Mason once again into turn number 2.
Yeah, and we saw on the screen, we saw Christian Cabrera also take P10 away from Joshua Gaiman at the end of the back straightaway going into the final corner, and nice inside line pass there completed by Christian Cabrera up to P10 right now.
And Mason is now up into the 6th position, and there's some good battling going on in the middle section of this racetrack. This 71 car there of Kevin Lundberg being put a lap down. To run through the list of retirees in this race, you've got Tuomas Lunen out of the race. You've got Tim Rafferty sat down on pit road, trying to get some repairs to his race car. We talked about how he had that bizarre incident at the start finish line. Peter Yerkser out of the race. Isra Balau out of the race. Giuseppe Aero is circulating on the racetrack, but is 1 lap down, as is Kevin Lundberg and Bill Zanis. These drivers now working on lap number 10 of 27, so 1/3 distance here. Yoni, these cars, of course, going to have to make a pit stop here, but Rato is really making sure that Coomans won't be able to use that to his advantage. And of course, both Rato and Coomans have been very, very good on pit road here. In fact, I think Rato might have got himself a tiny slowdown penalty there as well.
Yeah, just watching the pit road there, Stefan Moria must have taken a tow because he's taken a well. Now he's off. He's a 58.5-second pit stop. I wonder why, did he like a bathroom break or what? But 58.5 seconds in the pits, and also Steve Brockman and David Schaefer seemed to have made their scheduled pit stop, as well as Kevin Staldings. These guys are currently at the back of the field, naturally having made the pit stop. But yeah, Rato is. Not only Rato, but lots of drivers seem to just dislike the darkness a little bit and cutting the corners every now and then. As Jan Coomans, by the way, takes P4 if I'm not mistaken. Yep, P4 for Jan Coomans.
As he comes into pit road. So Jan Coomans onto pit road for the his first real pit stop of the day. Of course, he had to make that stop-go penalty on lap number 1. He didn't take any fuel or tyres, however, so now Jan Coomans is going to have to do all that work all over again.
Arcadius also in the pits.
Yeah, and Arcadius also onto pit road. Tuskix in the 08 car onto pit road. So perhaps these drivers doing a 2-stop strategy here today. And Coomans coming down to make his first real pit stop. Very close to the wall though. You just see how close he was to the wall there. We'll see whether he takes tyres. In fact, he is looking as though he's taking left side tyres. So he'll probably take right as well. Unless he's completely crazy in that 55 car. He's going to get himself some fuel as well. And I say, looking as though he's not taking tyres on all 4. What is going on there with Coomans?
Well, I have to say that if you're gonna take tyres, I would personally probably in Coomans, if I was in Coomans' position, I would know that since I had to make that slowdown penalty, I was forced to the back of the field. Yes, he was in a P4 at the time of the pit stops, but Coomans, we've seen through the season that he is able to save his tires quite a bit, which is if you're not overdriving this car, you can like save your tires quite a bit to last like way over 30 minutes straight. So I don't think it's a bad idea not to take the tires if he has managed to save them enough for to get a maximum lap times out of them. The fuel is important to finish, of course, but if you don't take tires in this car, the pit stop is much shorter. But still, 20.4 seconds.
I'm sure he only took tyres on one side though, so unless he's been watching too much of the NASCAR and deciding that he wants to be one of those, I'll have a look and check back. But Coomans, I am certain he only took tyres on the one side of his race car. In fact, I'm just having a look once again. He takes tyres, the car tilts up to the left-hand side. It never tilts to the right.
As Rato comes to the pits.
Yeah, go ahead.
Up there.
So Guilherme Rato, he comes down to pit road to make his first pit stop of the day. We'll ask Coomans after the race about that, because that is just, in my eyes, completely and utterly bizarre. But Coomans, 45 miles an hour, as he comes onto pit road to make his first pit stop of the day in the 8 car. He's got himself the second pit stall, so he's going to drive it all the way down pit road. He's stopping in his pit box, once again, very close to the wall for him as well. See if he takes tyres, and it looks as though he is taking fuel only. So Rato decided he doesn't need tyres, at least at this stage of the race.
Yeah,
comparing the in-laps.
Layout. Oh god.
Stop talking over each other, girls!
Just talking about the in-laps, Coomans was only about 4/10 faster on the in-lap, so... But he did change the tires, so we'll see how that affects the out-lap times. We'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah, and I was gonna say about the night layout that there is a lot more grip, especially in Sebring in the night time. Not sure. I mean, I'm not sure how it affects because the temperature should be pretty much static in the service, but there's any series that have raced here in both day and night races, the night races have seen lap times up to 2 seconds faster per lap. So that also can have quite a bit of factor to the tire wear, because in the daylight this track is extremely slippery and it takes the edge right off your tires. But in night race, I would not be so sure.
Well, yeah, track temperature is 78 degrees Fahrenheit, so yeah, a lot cooler than you'd see, about 20-30 degrees cooler actually than it would be at day. And what that really means is that the tyres are more forgiving because of the fact that you're not heating them up as much, you know. Even if you go and lock a tyre up here or there, you've got the ability to cool it down some of these long straightaways where, as if it's a warmer track, you have less time to try and get those tyres to rebalance themselves. So Guilherme Rato still is technically out front. We'll keep an eye out on Yanis as well. Yanis, to say he's looking as low he is. In that second position, with Benjamin Lanute currently running in third, Eric Garcia in fourth, Chuck Johnson in fifth, Andre Hegem in sixth, Christian Cabrera in seventh, Turskis in eighth, and Jan Coomans currently sat in the ninth position. Hey Mason rounding out your
third.
top 10. Oh, sorry, I take that back. Yeah,
updated results.
Yeah,
he's up in third.
Up into third, and it always gets confusing. Sorry about that one. We are in a sequence of pit stops, but it is currently Coomans ran your third position on the racetrack. I have to say though that Rato really has had the pace for Coomans. Yes, Coomans has had to work his way through drivers, but even when Coomans has had clean hair, he's not been that much faster than Guilherme Rato today.
Yeah, and Rato not only he doesn't have to match Coomans' pace. He only had he currently has about well, tough to say about the relative, I mean the absolute time display, but he has at the line he had about 12 seconds lead over Jere Janis. Not sure about Jan Coomans' lap because he's currently making his first full lap out of the pits. Yeah, so but I have to say that Rato, if he's in the remaining parts of the race half a second a lap slower than Coomans, it's enough for him to win the race.
Yeah, and this is probably what Rato knows. Coomans has to drive that car to the absolute limit. And I mean, he did make that mistake a little bit earlier on, getting two wheels onto the gravel, which cost him about a second and a half or so. But still, Coomans did 2 minutes 29.696 as they came past the stripe plat last time by. Guilherme Rato did a 2 minute. In fact, he's still on the racetrack, so we don't know quite yet what he's done. But having a look at the outlaps, and it has to say that I think it was Rato there. He was much faster, and that of course comes down to the fact that part of the outlap includes the pit stops as well. So what we could really say there, Riku, is that those tyres cost Jan Coomans about 7 seconds on the racetrack.
Yeah, Coomans' outlap was 3 minutes 6 seconds point 3. When you compare it to Rato, it was 2 minutes 59.8. So 6 seconds slower on the outlap. Of course, that is with the pit stop. So, and Jan taking tires on one side of the car. So we'll see if that works out for him or not. But in the meantime, it looks like he has wasted time there in the pits. We'll see if he can make it up.
Of course, the question is going to be though. Sorry, can Rato do the entire race on this one set of tires?
Yeah, looking at the gaps currently, Guilherme Rato is in a lead by 20. Last time they went over the start-finish line, and this time it's I think pretty much the first full lap out of the pit. So respectable telemetry information. Jere Janis is 23.04 seconds behind Guilherme Rato, and 6 seconds more, 6.5 seconds more to Jan Coomans. So 30 seconds lead for Guilherme Rato. If only he has enough fuel to finish this race, there's no way Jan Coomans can be able to catch him. Yeah.
And I'm thinking that also, Coomans really is going to have to do something magical, because not only is he's got to close pretty much a 30-second deficit to Guilherme Rato, he's also got to get himself past Janis as well. We know how good Janis is at keeping positions on the racetrack. Currently working on lap number 13. In fact, lap number 13 is going to be in the books as Guilherme Rato comes past the start-finish line once again. So pretty much at half race distance now to run through your top 10. It is Guilherme Rato with about a 24-second lead over Janis, as Rato working itself down into turn number 1 once again. Jan Coomans is in the third position, about 30 seconds now behind Guilherme Rato, your race leader. Turskis is in the fourth position. He's 31 seconds behind the race leader. Benjamin Lanute in the fifth spot is about 40 seconds now behind the 8 car of Rato. And Milheim Mason is in 6th, Eric Garcia in 7th, Chuck Johnson in 8th, Andre Hegem in 9th. Joshua Gaiman is running out your top 10. And we've still got
ourselves... Coomans spins in the turn 1.
Oh no, and he's into the wall.
That's a light tap in the front on the wall in the middle of turn 1, but it looks like maybe, of course, time will be wasted, but it doesn't look like his car will be too damaged. Oh, and he gets hit by another car.
Yeah, somebody is in front of him who's going very sideways.
It's Turskisk. Yeah, and that was down into turn number 1. And this is what I was talking about. Visibility is so bad here. Turskisk didn't see it until he's, what, 100 meters, if less, behind the incident with Jan Coomans. Coomans trying to reverse that car out of the wall. He couldn't see if any cars were really coming because he couldn't see much. But Coomans, he literally did drift that car into turn number 1. It was looking to say he was trying to get drift points or something there. And the car just wouldn't turn right on him. He glanced the wall, reversed the car, and Turskisk, I had to say, took a big lick there from Coomans. And looking at those Turkish, he's got himself a damaged car now, and he's struggling to get that thing back to Broad Pit Road.
Yes, that surely have to be a black flag and race over too much damage. That the car does the familiar wiggling, which means the front suspension is completely ripped off, and I can't see how Arcadius would be able to recover from this sad thing to happen, because a strong top 5 finish was coming.
Looking at what happened to Jan, it seems like he put his right side tires into the seam where the paint is on between the racing line and the pit lane. There's a little gap on the ground where you can put your wheels, and if you turn in while the wheels are there, there's gonna be you're gonna spin, and it seems like that happens to Jan.
And that, of course, is going to drop him back down as well. I believe he's just ahead of Lanuto. We'll keep confirmation of that. In fact, he is. But Coomans is really struggling in that 55 car. Having looked at the damage of that 55 machine. And how's it going to work here? Is Coomans at fault there? Because when he did try reversing that car, he wasn't really wildly changing his direction as Turskis came up. And I'm not sure you can put full blame now on Coomans.
Yeah, but I have to say, if Coomans had stood still, there would not have been a contact. I actually saw, from a few replays there, especially in the last one, you can see when Coomans goes into the slide and he goes in the stationary mode for just a second. Right before Arcadius passes him, the car just nudges forward for 2-3 feet. So without that nudge, there would not have been a contact. So in that sense, I would definitely blame him, because if he had a F3 window open, he would have known that there's a car coming. So whatever you do, do not move your car sideways.
Yeah. Go on.
You could also say that there was a lot of smoke produced from the spin, so the 8th car could have been a bit more careful coming into the corner, as it was quite obvious that there was some mayhem there.
And Lanute has in fact been able to get himself ahead of Jan Coomans, who I said has got some damage to the front of his car from that incident. But it is good having Rato still out in front, and that gap is 23 seconds on the racetrack, and looking so that Rato is kind of managing that gap now to Yanis. His last lap time, a 2:31.064. We'll compare that to the 2:31.016 of Yanis that last time by. And we're having a look, we'll go back and have a look very quickly, the incident with Coomans when he literally just saved that car from spinning out of control. That's probably what he wanted when he had that incident down into turn number 1. But Yoni, a very good save there by Coomans.
Yeah, this is lap 6 replay currently, watching the roll bar camera as it's coming through a turn 1. Then it happened at the exit of turn 4 there, so we're going through turn 2 and 3 right here, the deep left-hander, but just watch the wheel as he approaches the turn 4. He goes into a huge slide going out of the corner, and I don't know how he managed to keep the car straight, because that curb is slippery right here. Full opposite lock, and manages to keep it together. I don't know how he managed to keep that. That was inch away from disaster. If he had gone sideways, the cars behind him would have had extremely difficulties to try to dodge him.
Indeed. And you know, Coomans has made himself some good saves. I also he had that big incident in turn 1, and he is now 43 seconds behind the race leader. So Rato is still charging here as he's working on lap number 16 of 27 here at Sebring International Raceway. And as the season's coming to a close as well, Yenny, we've got to think championship picture. And he really does need every point he can get, Rato.
Indeed, he does, and this is a good boost for him, especially if Jan Coomans' car is out. Look, Jan Coomans is a very aggressive move there, outside going into turn 12. Pretty sure he's not gonna try the outside. Yeah, well, just as I said that. Was it a lapped car, I think? Yeah, it is. Sorry, my bad, yeah. Benjamin Lenouet is in front. But, yeah, besides, I'm watching a replay, my bad there. So,
I was wondering what we were talking about.
Yeah, I'm talking gibberish here. But, yeah, go on.
Doing a posse, what we call in the Finnish community.
Yeah, but of course, Rato, I'm having a look at the championship picture. Of course, he'll get himself 100 points if he wins this race for getting first place. And I'm trying to figure out how many points Jan Coomans will get for fourth, but it is going to really close out this championship picture. The gap coming into this race was just 34 points. And I have to say that coming into the last couple of rounds, Brands Hatch Indy, Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca, if it stays like this, it is going to be a straight fight between Rato and Coomans. But of course, Coomans has got those penalty points, which he needs to kind of get rid of. He's going to have any chance of getting that, you know, chance for winning the championship.
Indeed, you can't win races like this, like from start to finish. But like, you have to start at some stage. You have to start taking like a bit more conservative mode, not to take incident points enough to get penalties, which cause you drive-throughs, etc. I mean, like you see here, Coomans had to take like drive at the limit. Rato has, especially as the season has progressed, Rato has gained much pace compared to what compared to what Coomans has gained. So their gap. The gap between them has closed up very rapidly, and Coomans now, as he's up against the wall, he can't afford to make these anymore. So maybe the Silverstone, we saw a Bill, as by the way, he goes right there heavily over the curbs. I'm not sure if that goes as a slowdown penalty. It shouldn't do that, but yeah, in Silverstone he made a ton of easy mistakes, and we saw quite a bit of right here. The turn 1 mistake, the turn 4 2 feet save in system by iRacing.
.com.
Yeah.
.com. Yeah, but I'm just having a look at the points once again.
The P3 and Benjamin Lenouet going to the last corner there, he was taught completely sideways. How is that possible?
That is a bad line that you can take into the final corner, and the Lenouet just
yeah, but that was before the final corner. That was breaking into the kink.
Yeah.
It looks like he was going into the corner and braking at the same time. Then he realized that he was going to hit the wall, so he had to correct to the left, and that caused him to get a bit sideways.
And Coomans has got to get himself back up into that third place to help his championship cause. He's going to get, as it stands, 78 points, which will put him 22 behind the race winner, which will be Guilherme Rato, if it stays as it is. The gap will be then down to about 9 points between those two drivers. If he can get up one more position, he'll gain himself 5 extra points, and that's the sort of thing he's going to need. We'll keep an eye on the championship picture as this race progresses. These drivers are thinking they might have to wait one more pit stop in this race. Guilherme Rato, still your race leader, a 24-second gap now to Yanis in second, Benjamin Lenouet in third, and Coomans is behind him in the fourth. In fact, no, I take that back. Coomans is ahead of Lenouet now. He's up into the third position once again, with Lenouet in the fourth and Michael Mason in the fifth position. Checking in on the battle for the 11th position, Mikael Gustafsson and Stefan Moriat have been battling for position. And Yoni, these two drivers and those trained on the racetrack, and Gustafsson had a difficult start to this race, clawing his way back through the field once again.
Indeed, he is, and like he is a victim of these dark curbs in the darkness, and made a pretty good recovery. I think at the lowest stage right before the first round of pit stops he was 17th, and now he's up into 12th. Doesn't currently quite have the pace to match Morien, but still a strong recovery. He's doing 2:34.1, so pretty consistent pace. Not the leading pace, but and outside of that he also had 2:33.7s. That is, he did last time around. So. Now there was the overtaking, and I'm sure there was quite a bit of battle before the back straightaway, but now he's, as he got past Michael Gustafsson, he seems to be able to pull away over a second within the 6 corners.
Rato back into pit road, and this is going to be with 10 laps left to go. Henry Rato coming down to make his second pit stop of the day. He looking as though he was nice into his box. No issues for him on the way in. Is he taking tyres, or looking as though he is now going to take some tyres? And yeah, well, you say that, but it's not going to hurt him too much, really, is it?
Well, he lost the lead to Jere Janis, so if Jere Janis does not pit anymore, then that seals the win for Jere. But I'm pretty sure that Jere is going to
flag.
Coomans is in.
Yeah, Coomans is in, and Rato apparently getting himself a black flag. This is why he's taking so long on pit road. He got himself a black flag for speeding on the way in. We'll keep an eye out on Jan Coomans, see whether anything happens to him. But I'm having a look, and it did look as though that he did speed on pit road there by about 3 miles an hour. Yeah, 15 seconds stop and go. And that means he will come out just in the race lead. But having a look at Jan Coomans, he is still on pit road by the look of it. And Jan Coomans is taking tyres as well. Again.
It'll be interesting to see how they fix Coomans' damage, because it looked like his car just did not want to turn to the right at all. But it was okay in the left-hand corner, so we'll see if his turning capability to the right is fixed, and if he can post some competitive lap times. It seemed that after the contact he was about 3 seconds off his usual pace, so see how the pit stops work out for him.
But we'll need to keep an eye out to see where Rato is going to be in comparison to Janis. The gap was about about 30 seconds on the racetrack. Now that's of course going to be halved to about 15 seconds. Janis's only hope is not to take tyres on this pit stop, and hope and pray he'll have enough rubber to make it to the end. But Janis currently circulating on the racetrack, and he's doing a good job in that 37 car. He's been in second position for the majority of this race, coming now down into turn number 16 once again. And in fact, I take that back. He's now working his way into the S's before turn 16. This is what happens when you can't see the track, because I can't tell where they are half the time. But yeah, Janis now on the back straight away. And it's going to be an interesting strategy call now for the 37 car.
Yeah, it's Jere's lap times are consistent enough, so I would think that he could try to gamble it, not to take tires, only take fuel. So because these cars are not exactly burning the tires to like 0% surface, which will make them pop. But still, like even though you lose the best possible grip, as he's not coming to the pits fire this time around. But
he did pit later. He pitted on lap number 12 by our watch. So perhaps he's going to wait a couple of laps to try and short fill that car as much as possible. But for Janis, this has really started to make this an interesting battle, because all of a sudden, if he doesn't take tyres, he'll have less time on pit road. He goes a little bit wide out at turn number 1, actually. So keep up track to keep us going, Janis. But if all of these things go in his way, the position change on the lap track, it is Henry Rato is coming out the final corner. It's going to be very close now for Janis.
Yeah, very, very close, especially if he doesn't take tires. And looking at Jere's last lap time, we'll have to wait until Guillermo Rato manages to complete his first full lap.
38 seconds. Wow.
Yeah, this was an out lap, but yeah, 38.8 seconds. That's more than enough to survive a pit stop, especially at the 9 laps to go. I would surely gamble not to take if I have to take stop for fuel, then only take the splash, because 9 laps worth of fuel. I think you would be able to survive that with 3 gallons. So that surely is gonna take low amount of time enough for Jere to stay in front. And looking at his lap times, he's not doing bad, so his tires are in pretty good shape.
Yeah, and of course, you talk about how it takes 20 seconds or whatever to make a pit stop. On a track like this, with a car like this, a lot slower than some of the sports cars that you see in these things, that 20-second thing isn't as big of an issue because of the average speed of the cars. They actually lose a lot less than that. But yeah, Janis, he is really setting himself up for a fantastic finish to this race if he can keep it all together. Rato currently circulating in the 4th position in that 8 car. His outlap was a 3:27. So that included, of course, the time that he was on pit road. And let's compare that. That is a full 28 seconds slower than his first pit stop. And yeah, Janis coming down onto the back straight away. We'll see whether he makes the trip down into pit road at this time by. He's going to have 19 laps scored complete as he comes past the start-finish line, whichever way he wants to do it. But working his way into the final corner now, will he make that turn to the right down into pit road? He's making that turn into the final corner now, turn number 17. He's hugging the inside wall, perhaps. He could be making the journey, and...
No.
So keeping us going.
Did some calculations, and with an average lap of 2 minutes 31 seconds, a pit stop is about 34 seconds. That is without tires. So it's going to be really interesting to see if Jere can... Of course he's going to take less fuel than Rato, so it's going to be really interesting to see if he's able to pass him.
Yeah, and the gap in the race
made by Riku Ala Motorpark, who usually screws up his fuel estimations badly in every single race. You have to put that like question mark after that. Like Mary Scullenbeck says, is that a correct question mark?
That's a very nice protest.
But either way, the gap between Yanis and Rato is about 38 seconds on the racetrack. We'll keep an eye. In fact, it's down to 37 seconds now. So Rato, he's moved himself past Mehe Mason on that last lap to get himself up into what is third position. In fact, Mason's actually come down onto pit road by the look of it. But Yanis has got himself some traffic now. He's got 3 cars he needs to pass very quickly. They are, respectively, Giuseppe Aero, Enzo Pinto and Claudia Klimt, who almost trying to go 3 wide together on the racetrack as they're coming in to Riccardo Charmander's favourite corner, turn number 11. And it's looking as though Yanis is getting held up a little bit here.
Yeah, and
there was contact in front.
Oh! All ahead of him!
Yeah, and these cars in front of him are, none of them are fighting for position. So, well actually, Giuseppe Aero and Claudia Klimt are fighting, but yeah, the one car was not. So,
yeah, Yanis has passed one of them. One of them decided it wanted to get turned almost upside down. He's got one of them left to go, but he does not want this to be his end lap. He's got Claudia Klimt ahead of him in the 24 car, suffering from damage. And Klimt's been doing 2 minute 36 compared to Yanis's 2 minute 32, working away into the S's once again. And Yanis, let's have a look to see whether or not he's losing. He's losing time now. He's losing a lot of time.
Yeah, he's losing a lot of time. And he lost a lot of time in turn 10 as well. Must have been like 2-3 seconds at least. Oh, it goes wide in front of him.
Oh,
gets a good run, gets a good run now though.
Yeah, and this is the thing, you've got to plan your race, you've got to plan your strategy. He could have seen those cars, they were 4 or 5 seconds ahead of him, he could have seen how quickly he was closing them. Yeah, Yanis now is going to have to do that work all over again. He's coming into the final corner. Will he pit this time? Will he try and double the issue here? He's got cars ahead of him again. He's going to put a lap down. This time he's looking as though he is going to stay out. By the look of it, once again, it could just be he can't find pit road for all we know. But yeah, Yanis stays out on the racetrack. 20 laps score complete. 7 laps left to go here at Sebring International Raceway. And that was a 2 minute 32.998. And he's lost himself on those last 2 laps. Quite a bit of time.
Yeah, it's, yeah, I'm trying to figure out whether he's able to whether he has enough fuel to complete this race, because he might have. I'm not sure how much the fixed setup allows in the fuel tank.
Well, we'll keep an eye out and we'll find out. It's not looking as though he's going dramatically slower than what he was before. He made his first and only pit stop of the day. Of course, he made that on the conclusion of lap number 11. And he's working his way down to the hairpin once again. The gap between himself, however, and Guilherme Rato is now into that 34-second window, the one that Ricky was talking about. And Ricky, if your calculations are correct, they're going to be pretty much side by side coming out of pit road.
Don't count too much on that, but it'll be interesting if my calculations are correct at all. But of course, Jere probably has to take a lot less fuel for this stop than Rato, the pit stop before, because I took his time as base from his first pit stop.
Guys, Guilherme Rato's last lap around was the second fastest in the whole race after Jan Coomans is 2:29.572. Rato's last lap was 2:29.724 against Jere Yanis's 2:32.999. So that's 3 seconds a lap. Not bad.
Yeah. It's crazy, crazy stuff. Of course, now Guilherme Rato is in clean air. He will see whether he'll be able to gain a bit of time over Yanis once again. Yanis also got some clean air now as he's hugging the curves, coming into turn number 16 once again. He's going to have 21 laps scored complete at the line, and at some point he's going to have to decide whether to make that journey down to pit road or try and make it to the end, working his way down the back straightaway. And in that 37 car, you see the gap is actually to Lanute, 24.5 seconds. That last time by Lanute, doing very similar lap time as to Yanis. In this battle for the race leader is Guilherme Rato. You see we're in the third position. Yanis coming through the final corner. We'll see whether or not he makes that trip this time by. And he does... Not. Yeah, I'm starting to get confused now. But he's got 21 laps scored in the book, 6 laps left to go. And every lap he can do on the racetrack now, that is going to decrease his time in the pit box. So it's going to be swings and roundabouts. That last time, once again, a 2 minute 32.76 seconds. Rato is going to get another 3 seconds on him. If Yanis is going to win this race, he's going to have to start staying out now. I think that he's tried a bold strategy, but he's in a bit of a corner now. If he doesn't come into his pits now, he could actually be looking somewhere around 4th, 5th position. Checking on Jan Coomans, however, he's now down into the 5th position. He's back out onto the racetrack. He's got that damage to the left front fender of that 55 car, but his lap times have been really slow since that pit stop. 2 minute 32.8, 2 minute 32.1, working his way into the final corner. Very wide. That car just does not turn into that final corner. See cars coming down into pit road, sorry. I'm trying to figure out who they are, but we've got Tom Rafferty on pit road, Lanute down on pit road, and Kevin Lundberg on pit road as we speak. So Lanute is going to give up that second position back to Guilherme Rato. Yeah, Yanis, we'll keep an eye out to see if he comes into pit road this time by. Surely he has not got enough fuel to go to the end. Lanute's last pit stop came at the conclusion of lap number 11. So if they put in the same amount of fuel, then in theory, Yanis should be coming down at this time by. And having a look at the outlet times, because that will give us the indication of how long they were in their pit box for. Lanute did a 3 minute 12, and yeah, Yanis did a 3 minute 11. So very similar times in the pit box, unless of course Yanis didn't take tyres, then he's got to be coming down, perhaps, guys, this time by.
Yeah, tough to even speculate because I'm looking at the pit
telemetry. There we are.
The box times, and the Jere Yanis's box, the only visit to the box took 22.4 seconds. And looking at the Lanawet, Garcia, Coomans, Hegheim, for example, their second pit stops were between 10 and 12 seconds. And if Jere's pit stop was 22.4 seconds and he didn't take tires, he surely has enough fuel.
Surely, but he's coming out the final corner once again, and he's looking as though
he's coming in.
He's coming in.
He's coming in.
So we're going to have to keep an eye out on Guilherme Rato. Derp indeed. He's down to 45 miles an hour. Don't speed now. This is your only chance to try and go for victory. Yeah, Yanis. 44 miles an hour as he comes down, looking for his pit box, of course. Yeah, Yanis, he started this race down in the 3rd position, has led for a couple of laps now. He's into his pit box in 3, 2, 1, and he's in nicely into his pit box there for the 37 car. We're going to keep an eye out on Guilherme Rato. He is working his way into the front straightaway, and yeah, Yanis is still in his pit box. Rato is going to take this back to the race lead for Guilherme Rato, because yeah, Yanis still, now he's coming out of his pit box, but Rato is back out in front there, and by about 3 seconds on the racetrack. Yanis lost that really when he was stuck behind that traffic.
Indeed,
yeah.
And but still, guaranteed second position if he just keeps his car in control now.
I would definitely say that if he had pitted a bit earlier, he could have taken the lead. The gap is not that big, and I think he was losing a lot of time on track when he kept going, because he was lapping slower than Rato on fresh tires.
And that's the thing, he knew he had to put fuel in. He could have put enough fuel in, because with that amount of laps he could have still done it. But it's that whole thing, sometimes you have to be very brave with strategy. I think he was brave, but not brave enough. He should have really taken the risk when he had the opportunity. When he saw those 4 or 5 cars ahead of him on the racetrack, which cost him so much time. And Lanute's coming down onto pit road, we believe, once again. So perhaps he took himself... Yeah, speeding penalty by the look of it, because no work being done to his race car, and he's probably going to come back out onto the racetrack, and indeed he does. So a penalty there for Benjamin Lanute for speeding probably out of pit road. We'll get a look at his lap before, see if anything happened to him, because it must have been on the way out of his pit box, and he did indeed, by my watch, he did speed out of pit road by quite a substantial margin, actually. Yeah, he did. He sped coming out.
Yeah, these cars don't have a pit lane speed limiter, so you really have to be on the throttle control in order to avoid speeding. Unlike in IndyCar, Formula 1 HPD, a lot of the more powerful sports cars where they have a automated speed limit, pit speed limiter, these cars don't have it. So that brings if you have to pit normally in the normal series, you don't have to pit with these cars. But if you have to pit, it brings a certain kind of excitement, just like in the trucks and the sprint cup cars, who also don't have a automatic speed limiter.
You forgot the nationwide side, who of course are on your side. If you call 866, no, I'm joking. But it's Guilherme Rato leading the way back here at Sebring International Raceway. He's going to put 23 laps in the books. I have to say that Yanis can see Guilherme Rato on the racetrack. So the gap isn't as big as, you know, some people would try and take credit away from Rato. But they've got themselves, what, 4 laps left to go at the line. 23 laps going to be scored complete, and I have to say Rato really did strive a beautiful third stint there, being able to get back out front, because after that speeding penalty we said it was going to be close, but he did what he needed to do.
Yes, indeed, he did set very fast laps after his penalty. Take a look again, 30.8, 29.7 and 30.7, 30.8, so a lot of times below. It's up 2 minute 31, which is quite fast and a lot faster than Jere by almost about a second per lap, so that was enough to put him in the lead after Jere pitted.
Both the drivers are off there. Yeah, Yanis is off the racetrack, and that was also Steve Brockman in the 86 car going off there as well. Looks like Brockman went wide, and Yanis also then decided to follow him onto the grass. We're talking about how Yanis will get second position if he keeps that car on the racetrack. Fatigue does start kicking in after a while in these longer races and a track that is dark, in a car which you have to manhandle around the racetrack. Yeah, Yanis back out on track, still keeping that second position, but a little bit of a bruised and battered ego for the 37 car with about 3.5 laps left to go. And very quickly, Ricciardo Squirtle, did you check to see whether or not they were able to, whether or not your maths were correct even?
Let's see. Jere's in-lap was quite slow actually. It was 2 minute 37.6 compared to Rato's, which was actually it doesn't show it because of his back fag. But his pit stop before first pit stop, his in-lap was at 2 minute 35.8, so almost 2 seconds lost in the in-lap alone. So his pit stop was a bit longer in terms of in-lap and out-lap.
So perhaps Riku's maths was correct. We'll leave that to you to decide on Twitter. Use the hashtag GlacierTV. It is Guilherme Rato out front. The gap is about 6 seconds, 7 seconds now on the racetrack actually over Yanis and Coomans. Let's not forget about him. He's actually back up into the 3rd position. We talked about championship positions earlier on. He's going to actually keep the lead coming out of this race if it all stays where it is. And I think the gap by my watch was going to be about 7 points between those two if it stays how it is, Joni.
I can't do the math right now, but yeah, sorry, I don't have the charts in front of me, so tough to do the math right here, right now. But I take your word for it, and yeah, it's gonna be close for sure. And does Jan Coomans still have the penalty points to suffer in the future races, or has he suffered them all right now, so he doesn't have to repeat those?
It'll come down. It will come down to whether or not Howley apportioned the blame, I think, for the incident with himself and Turskis. However, coming into this race, I'm having a look to see. And I know he did himself a number of penalty points. I'm trying to figure out, however, just how bad it is. We'll get confirmation back on that one. He was at a P level 1, so he would have been down to a W3, if he'd kept this race clean, of course, he could stay at a P1. That is a penalty rating 1, if, of course, they apportion the blame to him. But that's going to be a big call there, I think, for the race stewards, because, you know, the outcome of that call really could decide this entire championship, and it will all come down to whether or not Coomans could have done more to allow Turskis the chance to pass him, or whether it's just Turskis not paying attention too much. It's not for us to judge and say, really, but that is going to be a critical moment, I think, in this championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And but yeah, if the championship is to be decided based on penalty points, then that's there's only one person to blame for those penalty points, and that's the drivers. Nobody forces you to take penalty points.
Yeah, I was about to say the only winner is probably going to be Ferrari, but let's not talk about that one either. But the gap is now up to 7.5 seconds on the racetrack. It's about 2.5 laps left to go for these drivers. In fact, they're working their way down into turn number 16 once again. And Guilherme Rato, his last lap time, a 1 minute 30.5. So he's kind of dropped that pace off a little bit since, you know, he had that race lead. But Rookie, those laps when he did do 2 minute 29, 2 minute 30, 2 minute 29, 2 minute 30, really, that is how he won this race after that penalty. He had to charge, and unlike Jan Coomans, he's cracked under pressure. Guilherme Rato just did the task perfectly.
Yeah, and even after he has passed Jere, he's still putting down mid-30s as he came over the line with a 2 minute 30.440. So he's still continuing very strong pace and showing that he is able to drive very fast and get away from Jere, and maybe even show that he could have passed Jere in the track if he had not passed him in the pits.
And I have to say, fast car really is fast here for Guilherme Rato. Got himself about a lap and 2/3 left to go. We're going to go in car with Guilherme Rato as he's coming out of turn number 5. A lot of dust and smoke there being kicked up by another driver. We'll try and get confirmation of who that was. He's the one working his way through turn 6 into the hairpin at turn number 7. Once again, to run for your top 10 very quickly, it is Guilherme Rato, still your race leader. The gap between himself and Yanis back up to 10 seconds. Jan Coomans in 3rd, 37 seconds behind the race leader. With Mayhem Mason in 4th. Eric Garcia 5th, Benjamin Lanute in 6th, Joshua Gaiman in 7th, Andre Hegem in 8th, Chuck Johnson in 9th, and Mikael Gustafsson rounding out your top 10. 12 cars on the lead lap, and we've had ourselves a number of retirements here today. There is Turskis, Balao, Yakta, Rafji, and Thomas Halunen all out of the race. And Rato going very sideways there and spinning the car almost. In fact, he did spin the car. He's got it back onto the racetrack. But Guilherme Rato, this is going to allow Yanis to close a little bit. And I don't know what it is, but Rato just pushed that car a little bit over the edge there. And he just spun it, actually, as he came into the corner. And he never actually hit the apex at all.
Yeah, that was like the last millimeter that Coomans did not suffer in the turn 4 incident. Coomans, it was 1 millimeter further away from the total spin, and Rato, just after that there was no coming back. If it had gone an inch back worse, that was actually Rato did not manage to save it completely. He actually went to the grass, and the only thing that kept him from disaster was the fact that the wall was too far away.
Yeah, the wall was too far away, and Coomans forgot he had 2 feet. Go on.
Yeah, it looks like Rato came off the brakes a bit too fast, thus unsoling his race car, and that put him into the spin. But meanwhile, looking at Jere, it looks like maybe he's a bit demotivated after having Rato pass him in the pits. He looks like he's driving the car a bit slower than before the pits. So if he had maybe kept pushing, he could have passed Rato after the incident. But I guess he's just wanting to secure 2nd place, since it's a very solid finish for Jere.
White flag in the air for Guilherme Rato. 1 more lap to go for him. Yeah, Yanis in that 2nd spot. You are right. Perhaps it was the fact he didn't take tyres. He tried the risky manoeuvre. We did see his lap times fading off a little bit as he approached that 2nd pit stop. He did struggle a little bit of those last couple of laps, and perhaps the fact he didn't take tyres was his undoing. Of course, we'll have to ask ourselves, if he pitted earlier, would he have actually been able to keep Guilherme Rato behind him? Because that gap is still 6 seconds on the racetrack between Rato and Yanis. Jan Coomans currently running in the 3rd position, with Mayhem Mason in the 4th spot, Eric Garcia in 5th, Benjamin Lanute rounding out your top 6 drivers. Of course, Jan Koeman is in the position that he is in because of a huge moment he had down into turn number 1. about halfway through the race, being involved in an incident with Tusk discs. However, he's been able to get that car back up into the third position, had some damage to the race car, got it repaired on his second pit stop, and that is going to mean coming out of this round that Coomans is still going to be your championship leader with just 2 more races left to go. Hemi Rato bringing the car out of turn number 11 and 12, now working his way on the middle portion of this lap, and I take it back, he's actually approaching the favourite corner of Untitled turn number 11. Say hello to Ricky, he's now working his way through turn number 12. And this is where the widest part of the racetrack now. Just a couple more corners left to go for Hemi Rato to take victory once again in the Blondie's MX-5 World Tour presented by Blondie's Bar in Long Beach, California. And Rato has just got himself a couple of corners left to go. And Yoni, been a dominant race for Rato despite that penalty.
Yeah, it's been not the kind. I would not have expected this kind of dominance from Rato. I would have expected it from Coomans if he had not had to suffer that drive-through penalty. This is what we used to see from Coomans, but Rato has been like a more mortal on a certain racetrack. He's already doing the wiggles and going the back straight. Right, by the way, but yeah. Pretty much flawless. Not sure if that that gave him a extra skipped heartbeat there, the drive-through penalty. But even without that, if Jari Ennis would have been able to beat him in the pits, I doubt that he would
What is Rato doing? Rato thinking about coming onto pit road there, and he slows the car down. He does take race victory, and now he's going to slam that car into. I think he's trying to do a donut there. It all went horribly wrong for him, but Hemi Rato does indeed win. The gap was 6.2 seconds as they came across the start-finish line. Hemi Rato playing fun games on the back straightaway. You don't always want to do that because you never know what could happen in the final corner. Yeah,
we got P7 too wide, last lap and too wide, approaching turn 12 there.
Wow.
Andre Hegham is going both sides, desperately trying to get that 7th position away from heavily got the inside curve of the P7 car. So Joshua Clement is about to lose the 7. Yep, Hegham scores the 7th position there.
Yeah, but of course they've got a couple of corners left to go. They've got lap traffic. He's going to go its way as well. Oh, going very wide. Oh my goodness, what happened there? But Gaiman falls back in behind. It's going to be a race to the flag there for these 2 drivers. It's always happening on the final lap in this series. Always happening. And Gaiman looking down to the inside once again. They're going to be too wide. It's going to be a drag race into the final corner. We've seen how good Gaiman can be on the outside. If that's what he's going to have to do. We've seen how good Gaiman can be, so we're going to have to bear that in mind as they come into the final corner for the final time for these 2 drivers. Andre Hegham is currently ahead after the moment from Gaiman. Now Gaiman looking down to the inside as they come into the final corner. Who's it going to be? It looks like Gaiman's going to get the run in. However, will Hegham try and do the undercut? It looks as though he's going to try and do so, and Hegham is just going to try and get it there. If he can just work it, and you just saw how Gaiman gave him a little bit of a love tap there, but Hegham is going to take home 7th position from Joshua Gaiman, and a great battle there on that last lap for those 2 drivers.
Yeah, if there was a 15 minutes of sort of a boredom moment in that race, that last lap with these P7 fight just surely took the cake.
Holy macaroni is what I can say. But yeah, good racing by those guys. Cars still floundering their way to the start-finish line. Chuck Johnson coming home in the 9th position. Mikael Gustafsson coming past the start-finish line for the final time. He is going to take home the 10th spot with Stefan Morial and Christian Carreba. They are the last 2 cars on the lead lap. In fact, Carreba is just coming out of the final corner now. He's going to be classified himself in the 12th position. We'll run through your final race results in a moment. But before I do that, driver of the race, Riku, go.
You have to give it to Rato. I mean, he drove a very solid race. Especially after that black flag, he put very solid laps in and was able to capture the lead back after Jere's pit stop. So really working hard under pressure and putting in the solid laps when really put against the wall, and showing that he's a great driver, and thus I would say he's the driver of the race.
Jenny?
I wouldn't say Rato because of that foolish penultimate lap mistake, which almost cost him the race, but I could go for something a little more exotic, like I'm gonna go for Andre Hegham only because of that last half a lap. That battle was the best, by far the best that we've seen through this race. I'm gonna go with Hegham.
To back up what you're saying about Rato, I think, he made two critical mistakes in this race. The one on the penultimate lap, yes, he got away with it, so, that's not a big thing. But that incident on pit road, you don't want to speed on pit road. It's so easy to keep this car at 45 miles an hour. He didn't have to do it. It's just a stupid mistake, and that does cost him my vote for driver of the race. I'm going to give it to Yanis in that 37 car just because of the drive that he had. He tried doing something risky. Yes, he perhaps should have pitted a little bit earlier on, but he had heart. And I think in a series like this, a long race like that, and knowing of that he was up against it, Yanis, I think, delivered all the goods to me, and he came home in the second position. Going to run through your final race results then, and it is Guilherme Rato taking victory by 6.2 seconds over Yanis. Jan Coomans coming home in the third position with Mihai Mason in fourth. Eric Garcia in fifth. Benjamin Alut in the sixth position. Andre Hagaim in seventh with Joshua Gaiman in eighth. Chuck Johnson ninth. Mikael Guzman rounding out your top 10. Stefan Moriat in 11th with Christian Correba in 12th. Steve Brockman 13th. David Schaefer 14th. Kevin Starn in 15th. Giuseppe Aero in 16th. Claudia Klima in 17th. Kevin Lemberg in 18th, and Elde Pato in 19th, Belzan in at the 20th position. Retirees, Turskis in the 08 car is a retiree, as is Istvan Balal, Peter Yerksa, Tom Rafji, Thomas Alunen. They are going to be classified as 21st through 25th respectively, and Jonathan Keir did not start the race. Very quickly, we're going to talk to Thomas Alunen, the first car retired out of this race. And Thomas, difficult race for you here today. Nope. I'll tell you what, we'll try it once again. Thomas, Will Vincent, GlacierTV, can you hear me? In that case, we'll try and talk to Halunen in a couple of moments' time. In the meantime, we'll bring in our third place driver, Jan Coomans. Congratulations on your third place finish. But I'm sure you're thinking that had you have not had that incident down at turn number one and then getting touched by Turskis, it could have been all completely different.
Yeah, but it was my fault. I mean, I got my outside wheels on the line where the cones are for the pit exit, so it's just very slippery apparently. I made that mistake twice. I caught it once. The second time I didn't catch it, and I didn't know which way the guy behind me was going to go, left or right, so I just guessed wrong.
And how bad was that contact with Turskis? How much damage did it do to your race car? Because it did look as though from our angle, you're struggling in the right-handers a little bit ever since then.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my car was brilliant to turn left, but it wouldn't turn right anymore, and most of the corners on this track are right-hand turns, so aside from Sector 1 I was very fast, and then in Sector 2 and 3 until the end I was losing around 3 seconds in total per lap. So yeah, it wouldn't turn right anymore, basically.
And of course, we're coming into the last two races of the season, and one of the things that's going to be playing on your mind are penalty points. Do you think that you're going to have any blame awarded towards you for that incident, or is it just going to be put down as a racing moment?
I think the one where I touched Arcadius, I think that should probably be a racing incident because, I mean, I lost control and then I couldn't see where I was. I did have an incident a bit earlier in the race where I got caught out by somebody who suddenly slowed down in a bit of a corner. We had contact there, but I don't know, we're just going to have to see. It's very hard to get rid of penalty points here because you can only get rid of one penalty point per penalty you take, and a contact where you get blamed is 2 points. So for one contact, you can have 2 penalties in a row in 2 races. So it's very difficult.
And I want to go back to your first pit stop because I need to have this one sorted out. Did you only take left side tires?
Yeah, that's right. I took left side tires because from what I could see, probably it wouldn't cost me any time to take them on left side. Because the amount of time it took was less than the amount of time it took to fill up the gas tank, so they were kind of free, and it's a bit better for lap time because most of the corners are right-hand corners. Fresh tires on the left, it's a bonus.
Jan Coomans, of course, been watching way too much NASCAR and trying to put it into the Blondie MX-5 World Tour. Next week, well, we've got 2 races left to go. Next week, you're looking for a good showing?
Yeah, I hope so.
By the way, I have one question for Jan. Looking at the slow motion and your long slide through turn 1, just a question of we were pretty much guessing what could have been the cause of your slide. Was it just like a bump, brakes, too much turning or whatever? But I'm looking at the replay right now. Was it the rumble strip at the end of the pit wall that you just ended up touching right before the turn-in?
Yeah, I think so, because to be honest, in practice it never happened to me. I'm not sure if it's a combination of worn tires and just touching the rumble strip where the cones are. I don't know, it never happened to me. Just car suddenly snapped because I was a bit too far right, but in practice when I did that, it would understeer, not oversteer. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's my guess, because I have been there on that rumble strip with the Ford GT, and that just pushed me right into the outside wall there. So
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
Mazda,
That's what happened to
yeah.
me in practice, but in the race it was a bit different.
So now we know. So now we know that that was the incident from turn number 1. We also know that Jan Coomans taking left side tyres. So thank you very much for that, Jan. And we'll see you next week at Brands Hatch, which I have to say, I've done 165 laps in that car at that track, and it's fun. Very fun.
Let's hope so.
And Jan Coomans will be back, of course, next week with that 3rd place finish. He does retain the championship lead for the time being. You know, it's 17 points now, the gap between Rato and Coomans. And Coomans, he has to hope that he doesn't have a penalty to do once again at Brands Hatch in 1 week's time.
Yeah, you can only hope. Naturally, when you're a driver, that's the only thing you can do is hope, and just hope that the stewards are not gonna assign any extra punishments, because like Koeman said, you get one penalty, 2 penalty points for one incident. You have to you take 2 races to get rid of them. So he really can't afford to take another 2. So let's hope that for Koeman's championship sake, that he's not going to suffer from that, because if he have to do like Brands Hatch, I would say it's one of those tracks. If he has to take a drive-through penalty in there as well, that's not as easy of a track to overtake and gain positions as this track.
Yeah.
Like, there's so long straightaways in Sebring compared to what it has in a Brands Hatch. It's a very much Mickey Mouse track. So I really hope. Yeah.
Of course, we broadcasted a race there back in May when we did 165 laps around the place, so we know it well. Graham Hill Bend, turn number 1 down into turn number 2. Paddock Hill Bend, actually, not Graham Hill Bend. How dare I have that myself? But turn 2 is pretty much going to be a big passing opportunity. But those last couple of corners, you're kind of going uphill into that chicane, and then the final corner, a blind crest, and again, these drivers are going to have to really, really cooperate with each other. But I'm thinking that if Coomans has to take a penalty, he's going to have literally fall right to the rear of the field, because it's such a short lap and such a fast lap as well. He won't be able to get up a bit of an advantage, as he did in this race, to kind of put himself into the middle of the midfield. So, something to bear in mind as well. And of course, the Blondie's MX-5 World Tour, presented by Blondie's Bar in Long Beach, California, will be back in 1 week time for the penultimate round at Brands Hatch, trailing the Indy layout, which actually hosted a Champ Car Racing London Grand Prix trophy back in 2003. It's a beautiful racetrack. It's in England, of course it will be. But we'll be here for that next week. In the meantime, for myself, from Yodi Backman, and from Ruku Ala Pikachu, we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye!